we're going to discuss the topic, Sources of Drug, by Professor SEMISYNTHETIC, Kirahanam. Contact mail ID, profsamiacademy@gmail.com. Slide number 2. Sources of drugs may be natural and synthetic. Plants, animals, minerals, bacteria and fungi come under natural products. Synthetic, semi-synthetic drug, manipulation of genetic information come under chemical development. Slide number 3. Production of drugs. Drugs are produced from natural and synthetic methods. In the natural method, extraction of medicinal plants is a process of separating active plant materials or secondary metabolites such as alkaloids, flavonoids, terpenes, saponins, steroids, and glycosides from inert or inactive material using an appropriate solvent and standard extraction procedure. For example, morphine, codeine, narcotic, piperine and other drugs derived from the opium poppy. Slide number 4. Production of drugs. In the case of drugs production through synthetic process, synthetic drugs are created using man-made chemicals rather than natural ingredients. A number of synthetic drugs are on the market to treat various diseases. For example, paracetamol is produced in 2 steps. In the first step, para-aminophenol can be produced by the reduction of p-nitrophenol, using iron as a catalyst. Then paracetamol is produced from p-aminophenol by acetylating it with acetic anhydride in the presence of 3-4 drops of concentrated sulfuric acid as catalyst. Slide number 5. Types of drug sources. 1. Natural product, plant sources of drugs. 2. Natural product, animal sources of drugs. 3. Natural product, microorganism source of drugs. 4. Natural product, human sources of drugs. 5. Natural product, marine sources of drugs. 6. Synthetic drugs, made from chemical substances. 7. Genetic engineering drugs, a synthesis by genetics. 8. Semi-synthetic drugs, natural sources plus synthetic process. Slide number 6. Example for natural product, plant sources of drugs. Digitalis is a drug obtained from the dried leaves of the common foxglove, Digitalis purpurea, and used in medicine to strengthen contractions of the heart muscle. Reserpine is an indole alkaloid extracted from raw Wolffia serpentine roots, an Indian climbing shrub. Reserpine has FDA approval since 1955 and is one of the first agents developed to treat hypertension in clinical practice. Vincristine and vinblastine are vinco-alkaloids isolated from the leaves of the Madagascar periwinkle plant, Catharanthus roseus, formerly known as Vinca rosea. Quinine, as a component of the bark of the cinchona, quina tree, was used to treat malaria from as early as the 1600s, when it was referred to as the Jesuit's bark, cardinal's bark, or sacred bark. Slide number 7 continues. Examples of natural products, plant sources of drugs. Nicotine is commercially obtained from tobacco scraps and widely used recreationally as a stimulant and anxiolytic. Heroin is an opioid drug made from morphine, a natural substance taken from the seed pod of various opium poppy plants. Morphine belongs to a class of drugs known as opioid analgesics. Aloe vera is known for its antibacterial, antiviral, and antiseptic properties. This is part of why it may help heal wounds, and benefit skin, dental, oral, and digestive health. Atropa belladonna, commonly known as belladonna or deadly nightshade, is a toxic perennial herbaceous plant in the nightshade family Solanaceae. Atropa belladonna poisoning may lead to anticholinergic syndrome. Ingestion of high amounts of the plant may cause lethargy, coma, and even a serious clinical picture leading to death. Slide number 8. Natural product, animal sources of drugs. Leeches produce an enzyme in their saliva called hirudin. Hirudin is a powerful anticoagulant. When you apply a leech, The hyaluron acts locally at the bite site to allow continued bleeding for 2-3 hours after the leech is removed. Shark liver oil is the oil obtained from the livers of sharks, primarily Centrophorus squamosus, Cetorhinus maximus, and Squalus acanthias, or deep-sea shark, basking shark, and dogfish shark, respectively. Shark liver oil is used along with usual cancer drugs to treat leukemia and other cancers, to prevent radiation illness from cancer, X-ray therapy to prevent the common cold, flu, and swine flu, and to boost the body's immune system. Pepsin, the first animal enzyme discovered, Florkin, 1957, is a proteolytic enzyme of the hydrolase class, found in the gastric juice of mammals, birds, reptiles, and most species of fish. Animal insulin is derived from cows, pigs and horse. Until the 1980s, animal insulin was the only treatment for insulin-dependent diabetes. These days the use of animal insulin has largely been replaced by human insulin and human analog insulin. However, animal insulin is still available on prescription. Slide number 9. Natural product, microorganism source of drugs. Many life-saving drugs are derived from bacterial, fungi and molds. Example, penicillin is produced from Penicillium notatum, chloramphenicol is produced from Streptomyces venezuelae, grisofulvin is produced from Penicillin grisoflavum, streptomycin is produced from Streptomyces griseus, neomycin is produced from Streptomyces fradii. Production of penicillin microorganism source. For many years, scientists knew that certain molds killed some bacteria. However, researchers needed to understand how to harness this antibacterial microbe and manufacture enough of the substance before they could make a useful medicine. Step 1. Penicillium mold naturally produces the antibiotic penicillin. Step 2. Scientists learn to grow penicillium mold in deep fermentation tanks by adding a kind of sugar and other ingredients. This process increased the growth of penicillium. Step 3. Then, scientists separated the penicillin product from the mold. Step 4. Finally, penicillin is purified for use as an antibiotic medicine. Slide number 10, natural product, mineral source of drugs, ferrous sulfate, used for anemia, magnesium sulfate, used for laxative, sodium bicarbonate, used for antacid, aluminium hydroxide, used for antacid, magnesium, used for antacid, zinc, used for antiseptic, gold, used for anti-inflammatory, sodium, chlorine, potassium, used for electrolytes. Slide number 11, natural product A. Human sources drugs, HCG from pregnant women, menitrophin from postmenopausal urine, regular insulin from human, urokinase from human kidney cells, RHGH from human. Slide number 12, natural product, A. Marine sources drugs. The drugs which are obtained from marine organisms are known as marine drugs. These marine drugs are used since ancient times. Example, shark liver oil, cod liver oil, sodium alginate, agar-agar, chitin, bryostatin, extracted from the bryozoan, bugulin neratin. A potential treatment for leukemia and melanoma, pseudopterosines, extracted from the octocoral, see whip. Pseudoptera elizabethae. Anti-inflammatory and analgesic agents. Slide number 13, synthetic drugs, drugs made from chemicals, or artificial substances. Presently the majority of drugs are obtained synthetically. Some of the drugs which are earlier obtained from plants today were synthesized in the lab. Example, generic name paracetamol, brand name Panadol, Crocin, and Tylenol. It comes under the classification of antipyretic. Generic name cotrimoxazole is known as a combination of trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole. Brand name Bactrim, Cotrim, Septra. It comes under the classification of antibiotics. Generic name diazepam. Brand name Valium, Vazepam, Valtoco. It comes under the classification of hypnotics and sedatives. Generic name atenolol, brand name tenormin, tenoritic, azatone. It comes under the classification of hypertension. Generic name furosemide, brand name Lasix. It comes under the classification of diuretics. Slide number 14. Synthetic drugs. Genetic engineering drugs. A relatively new methodology involves the blending of discoveries from molecular biology, recombinant DNA technology, DNA alteration, gene splicing, and immunopharmacology. Example, name and uses of the drug. Human insulin is used for diabetes, hepatitis B vaccine is used for immunization, erythropoietin is used for anemia, tissue plasminogen activator is used for thrombosis, somatotropin is used for hormone replacement therapy, interleukin-2 is used for anti-cancer, factor VIII is used for hemophilia. Slide number 15. Semisynthetic drugs. Drugs are made by converting starting materials from natural sources into final products via chemical reactions. These are mainly obtained by changing the chemical structure of natural obtaining drugs. Example, atropine bromide, apomorphine, penicillin substrates, by changing a the R side chain, 6-aminopenicillanic acid, semisynthetic human insulin. Thank you for your attention. Further information, kindly contact profsamiacademy@gmail.com. Disclaimer: this channel does not promote or encourage any illegal activities. All contents provided by this channel are meant for educational purposes only.